This is the man we mourn today. On October 15th, 2025, the mortal journey of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga came to an end, but his spirit is immortalized in the story of a life that began on January 7th, 1945. For 80 years, he embodied resilience, boundless optimism, ventured into new frontiers and imagined new horizons, all in steadfast love for country. He was a leader who never wavered in his belief in the good of his people. Raila Odinga lived a life of purpose. He chose to fly high, urged the nation to dare, and challenged Africa to fight for its place in the world that retraced the dreams of the continent's founders. Over the past 3 days, we have witnessed an outpouring of emotions of a nation gripped in grief. Africa has grieved for him. Indeed, the world has grieved for him. A nation and a world struggling with the question, did we really know him? Is fighting to find hope in his enduring legacy. Raila Odinga may not have been there to fight the country's war for independence, but he bows out as an undisputed leader of the national rebirth of the Kenyan nation. He easily became the bridge between our generation and that of his father, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who fought for our country's independence from colonialism. He learned at the feet of Kenya and Africa's most revered leaders. He witnessed the liberation ideals and struggles of Pan-African heroes, including his father Jaramogi, Jomo Kenyatta, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and Kenneth Kaunda, among others. He followed and internalized Nelson Mandela's struggles and agreed with his philosophy that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, that the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Raila conquered fear and mastered courage. Possibility of death in pursuit of an ideal was not a reason for Raila to retreat, for he also internalized William Shakespeare's words that cowards die many times before their death, and the valiant never taste of death but once. It is from that patch that Raila began his own long walk for freedom and liberation, applying himself to the cause as a debt that owed to past and due to the present generations. Many times, he appeared to be on a cause much larger than himself, a mission almost impossible, but seemed to be the way he loved it, and he gave his life to it. In emulating the giant footsteps of his father, and the spirit of selflessness that ran deep in his heritage, Raila Odinga, just as his father once declared that there could be no freedom without the release of their leader, Jomo Kenyatta, proclaimed Kibaki Tosha, a declaration that propelled NARC to bring an end to KANU's 40-year rule. This defining act was emblematic of the man himself. Raila Odinga was Raila Odinga. He never cared what others thought about him or his actions. He cared whether people bought into his vision and mission. Once he felt he had the mandate of the people, there could be no turning back. In the process, he became Kenya's ultimate political prisoner and one of Africa's best-known freedom fighters. a dedicated and down-to-earth servant of the people of Kenya, a headache to the corrupt elite, and a beacon of hope for those struggling for freedom not only in Kenya but across Africa and beyond. Generations to come will honor him and offer gratitude. Raila Odinga cared deeply about Africa and worried eternally about its decline. For that, he applied himself to peace and reconciliation missions across the continent whenever called upon. During the 1990s, he worked closely with the International Republican Institute as a resource person for peace and conflict resolution in the war-torn countries and offered similar support to peaceful elections. The forces and issues behind him. The highest executive position he ever rose to was that of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya. Following the signing of a National Accord and Reconciliation Act of 2008, which created the office to facilitate power sharing after the controversial 2007 elections. Earlier, he had served as a member of parliament for Lang'ata constituency within the city of Nairobi from 1992. However, the hallmark of Raila's life and career was not in executive mansions and offices. It was in the struggle for freedom and democracy in Kenya and across Africa. Many times telling the continent's dictators to set their people free. It earned him outright enemies, cynical friends and admirers in Africa and beyond. It is this record that saw him appointed as Special Peace Envoy of the African Union in February 2011, following the post-election crisis in Cote d'Ivoire. He juggled politics, entrepreneurship, and scholarship with ease. Besides his career in politics, Mr. Odinga is also a successful businessman and entrepreneur, having founded the flagship family business, the East African Spectra, a manufacturer of gas cylinders for Kenya and the East African region. Subsequently, he founded Spectra International. Before that, he had taught at the University of Nairobi's Department of Mechanical Engineering between 1970 and 1974, and served at the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which he was instrumental in establishing. Even as he pursued all other careers, Raila understood that social, political, and economic changes in a country come through politics, and that although all politics is local, politics is also substantially international. So, even as he appeared to be rabble-rousing in the trenches of Kibra and Kondele, he understood that an hour comes when he needed to dust himself off and sit in boardrooms or take a plane to global capitals to negotiate politics and policies. He did that effortlessly, moving from dusty Kamkuji grounds to a meeting in diplomatic circuits of the country within an hour. It was normal for Raila to be tear-gassed, water-hosed, and even shot at, only for him to show up at the boardroom for meetings with his tormentors as if torture at the field did not happen. He understood the place of man-to-man negotiations in the quest to influence policy and power. Raila disagreed fundamentally with many politicians, but the state of the Kenyan nation and how to transform it. But those disagreements never stopped him from sitting down with those he disagreed with or sympathizing with the views of fellow politicians. Raila believed in political parties as vehicles for advancing democracy and good governance. It is upon this belief that he was a founder member of the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy. That is Kenya in 1991, the National Democratic Party in 1996, the Liberal Democratic Party in 1997, and in 2005, his present political vehicle, the Orange Democratic Party of Kenya. In 2013, he led his party into a coalition with other parties to form the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, that is CORD, on whose ticket he ran for president. He challenged the election results at the Supreme Court, which ruled in favor of his opponents. He accepted the verdict and took up the leadership of the opposition. He contested the 2017 presidential election on the ticket of the National Super Alliance, that is NASA, which election ended up being nullified by the Supreme Court, but he stayed out of the subsequent contest. Mr. Odinga was once again picked by his coalition, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, for the presidency in 2022, whose results were confirmed against him by the Supreme Court. He accepted the verdict and has led the opposition coalition. Raila's early life prepared him to be a consummate African and citizen of the world, with early education in Kisumu and Siaya before leaving for Germany, where he began his high school education at the Herder Institute in Leipzig. He later transitioned to the Otto von Guericke University in Magdeburg, in the then East Germany, where he obtained a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, specializing in production technology. In February 2024, Raila visited and extensively toured the two institutions, reliving his days there and recalling that when he arrived in Otto von Guericke, there were not more than 5 black students in the whole college. As a leader, Raila believed in exercise, duty, selflessness, sacrifice, collective leadership, humility, honesty, discipline, and hard work. Other than Kenya, Raila's other great love was Africa. He celebrated the continent's potential and mourned its poverty. He mourned the death of leadership on the continent and felt the pain of its people being left behind by less endowed regions of the world because of failure of leadership. Indeed, the last major political project Raila quietly embarked on days before his death was a third biography dedicated purely to Pan-Africanism and what needs to be done to take the continent forward. In October 2018, Raila was appointed as the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa. He moved into the position with the swiftness and certainty of fish in water. He named the continental highway network corridors, railways, and airports as if they were here in Kenya. He was at ease with Africa's trade deficit figures in comparison to other parts of the world. In politics, Raila communicated the importance of reconciliation, forgiveness, and putting country over self. He forgave his jailers and worked with them to move the country forward. He emphasized that building a progressive country demanded that leaders rise above anger and the desire for revenge. He also believed strongly that the preservation of a nation requires the triumph of pragmatism over ideology. That when the nation is under extreme threat, leaders must embrace extreme compromise. He believed power was not an end, but a means to an end, and it should be used towards the desired end. He believed power should be used to ensure the existence of the nation, not the demise of the nation. He wanted power to be used to ensure progress, prosperity, and peace of any among nations, and not for any causes that would yield contrary outcomes. We will cherish Raila in the heart of our nation, and I believe in the heart of many African nations. Thank you. Long live Raila.
Your